Hello, welcome to Revenant Reads. I'm Ben, and today I have the G and H tags. So both of these tags were created by Jim over at Jim's Books Reading and Stuff, and this tag was created back in the summer when he was pretty much, I think, weekly releasing a new tag based on the alphabet. And these were all fun tags. However, during that time, I didn't really have time to do the tags, but I still wanted to do them. I told him that I would do them, and I have every intention of doing them. So I'm finally getting to G and H. So obviously very, very far behind. So keep that in mind with some of these questions because these tags were released in the summer. But I think they're fun. They're quick, and without further ado, let's continue. So for the first one, G, his first prompt is, G is for the Great American Novel. What do you consider the Great American Novel? This was a prompt I used for the A tag and had so many great answers that I am presenting it again. This can be further broken down into the 19th century, 20th century, and 21st century. Just like in the A tag, I really don't have an answer for this because I haven't read enough, I think, real classic American novels to have a strong opinion here. I've mentioned in past videos on my channel that I have largely been, for most of my life, a predominantly nonfiction reader. I've started reading a lot more fiction over the last couple of years, but I still do not consider myself well-read in fiction. So I just don't really have an opinion for this one. The next prompt. G is for many countries like Guatemala, Guyana, Grenada, Greece, Greenland, Germany, Gabon, Guinea-Bissau, Guinea-Conakry and Georgia. What was the last book you read by an author from a country beginning with G? I don't think he means this, but I'm going to say one of them being Great Britain. So I did read The Mysteries of Udolpho just recently by Anne Radcliffe, published in the late 18th century. And also previously in October I had read Vathek by William Beckford, also a British Gothic novel from Great Britain. I read The Histories by Herodotus from Greece. If we want to, it wasn't a unified country at that point, but we can kind of say that, right? I read Perfume earlier like I said this year before, right now it's 2022 as I speak. But in 2021 I had read Perfume, The Story of a Murderer by Patrick Ziskin from Germany. That's, I think, what I've read most recently with countries beginning with G, although I have been reading some African poetry. So not entire books, but I have read some poetry from Ghana and, Guinea, things like that. So I have read some Gambia, some G countries. Next prompt. G is for Georgia. Have you read any books by Georgian authors or about Georgia? And he means Georgia, the country, not the American state. And no, I have not read any books by Georgian authors. G is for Gone with the Wind, set in the U.S. state of Georgia. Have you read Gone with the Wind? And if so, what did you think of it? I have not read the book. I've seen the movie. I certainly recognize the impressive filmmaking in that movie, especially for the time period. Vivian Leigh was certainly talented and stunning, and there's some amazing images. But I think the lost cause sentiment really sours that film for me overall. I don't find Confederate apologetics or the antebellum South romantic in any way. So yeah. Good film as far as technical ability, but even without the lost cause stuff, it's just not a story that really connects with me. G is for genre. Is there a book genre you would avoid? I think there's a difference between avoiding and just having no interest in. I don't have an interest in contemporary romance. I say contemporary because there's certain historical romances that I don't necessarily mind reading. But it's not an avoid. It's just, more of a matter of total apathy when it comes to things like that. So, but at the same time, I think it's okay to recognize that something is maybe just not for you and let other people just have their fun. So at this point, I wouldn't say it's a genre I would really avoid. Next prompt is G is for Goodreads. If you use Goodreads, what are your statistics like? Books read, books want to read, average rating, book reviews written. Now, I know Jim is very into statistics. He regularly shows his YouTube statistics, which I think is fascinating. And I don't even know how to look at most of that stuff for YouTube. And the same goes for Goodreads. I don't know how to look at all my stats on there. I use Goodreads to basically just kind of keep track of the things that I've read. When I read something, I will put it into Goodreads, basically, at least within a few days of finishing it. And that's it. I usually do the reading goal challenge, not because I'm obsessed with meeting that number, but it gives me that convenient list of books in the year that I don't know how to do otherwise on Goodreads. So I can just kind of look at the reading challenge, and it shows me everything from that year. And looking at that, we just passed into 2022. It looks like in 2021, I had read 81 books. And I don't know what my average rating was, but it was probably around 3 stars, I'm guessing. And he says that there are many other things that begin with G, and if you want, you can create your own prompt. I'm going to skip that for now, in the interest of brevity. I'm going to go on to the H tag. So the first prompt for H is for Harry Potter. Would you prefer to travel to Hogwarts in a flying car or on the Hogwarts Express? I don't like flying. I'm one of those nervous flyers. I do fly. I mean, that's the only way I can get to Europe, for instance. I'll do it, but I don't enjoy it. My grandfather, late in life, he had got a piloting license, so he used to take me up flying all the time, and I loved traveling with him. We flew down from Connecticut to Virginia. We would fly around. This is before 9/11. We'd fly around New York City and everything. And I always loved the travel aspect, but I always disliked the feeling of, my stomach going up and the acceleration and everything like that. I just don't enjoy that. But my grandfather, the same grandfather, he was also a train conductor from Danbury, Connecticut to Grand Central Station in New York City for my whole life. I think he got that job in the 1960s. And I spent most of my youth going back and forth with him to New York City on the train. So I have very fond memories of that, certainly. So I would certainly much rather take the Hogwarts Express. H is for horror is the next prompt. Why do kids love horror? So here you can add your own favorite horror titles. I grew up a total monster kid. I've loved horror my whole life. I am still a very adamant horror film buff. I love horror cinema. Even the bad stuff becomes comedy. It's just a terrifically and highly underrated genre that I don't think receives enough respect. As far as horror fiction, I'm still I mentioned before, I have not been much of a fiction reader most of my life, but I am getting to more horror fiction gradually. But rather than talk about why I think kids love horror, my 9-year-old son is also a horror fan. He, of course, hasn't seen any of the adult stuff, really. I've been gradually easing him into things, but he always wants to know about these monsters, which is understandable. I do have some horror posters in the house, and I have a cabinet full of horror stuff just in the next room. So he sees that stuff, and he's curious about it, and he gets into it himself, into Goosebumps, into watching Netflix kids horror series. He loves all that kind of stuff. So again, rather than me explaining why kids like horror, I may as well just let him speak for himself. He's 9 years old, and just recently he was practicing persuasive writing in school. And I said, "Oh, what are you writing about? What was your topic?" Well, he got to choose his own topic. He said, basically, why do kids love scary stories? And I said, that's perfect. Let's talk about that. So I'm going to insert a video clip of him reading his 3 reasons for why kids love scary stories. And, as far as he's concerned, why they should read them. And I'll just let that speak for itself in this next part.
Why kids like scary stories. 1. It's fun to be scared. It makes you feel excited. You are scared, but you know that you're safe. 2. It helps you use your imagination. You see monsters in movies or books, and you want to make your own monsters and stories. 3. It gives you ideas about how you could survive danger. It encourages you to make some action to stop things that are bad and make the world a better place.
And the next prompt is H is for Hemingway. Hemingway or Fitzgerald. I have not yet read Hemingway. I read The Great Gatsby by Fitzgerald in high school. I don't have strong memories of it. I remember the basic story, but I don't remember enough about the language itself. So because I've read Fitzgerald, he wins by default. That's why. H is for hardback. Do you prefer hardbacks or paperbacks? For my bookshelf, I prefer hardbacks. As far as reading, I do like paperbacks, especially those kind of larger trade size floppy paperbacks. That's my favorite thing to actually read. So because I do go to a lot of used book sales, especially library book sales where I can get books very, very cheap, I do often like to get a hardcover for the shelf and then a beat up paperback as a read copy. And a lot of times after I do the read copy, I'll pay that forward and I'll keep the hardcover on my shelf for posterity. And when I want to go back to parts of the book, I'll just use the hardcover. So, I don't know if you could tell on some of these shelves, you might see in some of these, you can't really make it out there, hardcovers and soft covers of the same book next to each other. That's my reading copy and the posterity copy together for now until I run out of shelf space. Then I'll get rid of the paperback. Next prompt, H is for Hardy. Which is your favorite Thomas Hardy novel? I have not read Hardy, so we go on to the next one. H is for hot. If you were in the Northern Hemisphere, how are you coping with the heat? And again, this was during the summer, and it was also hot where I am. I am in Connecticut, and even though I'm in the northern reaches of the United States, it gets very hot and humid in this area. And I handle the heat by basking in air conditioning. Some people hate the way air conditioners sound. They hate the way they make the air feel. I like both of those things. I love going to sleep to the sound of an air conditioner. I love the dry air of the air conditioner. So yes, love the air conditioning. And then if it gets nice and cool at night, I'll open up a window and I'll sleep right next to the open window all night without covers. I like it very cool. I am not somebody who likes heat and humidity. The next prompt is H is for Hunger Games. Do you prefer the Hunger Games or Harry Potter? I guess overall I would say Harry Potter. I came to both of those series as an adult. I enjoyed the movies. At first they were just kind of fun kids movies that, my wife and I would go and see just because it was the new thing that was out. And we've always liked fantasy and things like that. I think especially by the fifth movie, The Order of the Phoenix, I was much more invested. That one surprised me. I liked how dark it got and how mature some of the themes were. And then from then on to the end, from part 5 to the end, I really like those movies. I enjoy them quite a bit. The books themselves, again, I read them as an adult and they were fine. They were enjoyable as I read them. I don't think that they stuck with me in any major way at all. And the Hunger Games, again, I enjoyed the movies. I read the books and I enjoyed them overall. Although, you can, if you start picking apart the world, you can, really definitely find holes. And I really didn't like the love triangle subplot that kept popping up in the last book. You could have cut that out and shortened that, I believe. Yeah, it was serviceable. But overall, I guess I prefer Harry Potter. That's one that we keep coming back to, and just recently we've been watching the movies with my kids. Every week we've been watching a new one. This past weekend we watched The Deathly Hallows Part 1. So next weekend we'll be finishing up the Harry Potter series with them, and they're really into it, and they've got wands, and they're dueling with them and everything else, and pretending to be wizards. Anything that can spark up that imagination and make my kid want to, grab books and read them, I'm totally for. Next prompt, H is for honey. Pooh was addicted to honey. What is your sweet addiction? I would say Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. Those are amazing. Next one, H is for Handmaid's Tale. If you've read the book, what did you think of it? I have vague memories of reading that, I think like in high school or something. Maybe it was parts of it. I don't know. I know that it came up, and I know that we discussed it. Whenever I say read something in high school, you gotta kind of put like quotation marks around that word read. Some things I kind of read, some things I skimmed, pretended to read. Uh, yeah, I just, wasn't an invested reader in what we were reading in class necessarily all the time. Although there were cases where that was true. But that wasn't one that necessarily grabbed me at the time. But it is one that I tend to go back to. And maybe even this year I'll read it. And the last prompt is H is for Hopper. What are your thoughts on the works of Edward Hopper, the American painter? I like Hopper enough. I think his most famous work is Nighthawks. And I think I see the appeal. A lot of empty space in those scenes. I think, they can almost feel lived in by the observer, like they can be sharing that space with those who are in the painting. I like them as kind of a glimpse into like 1920s America. Kind of what's in the picture, what does it look like, at least that version. I tend to enjoy people's takes or parodies of Hopper, what they do with those things. But yeah, I think he's fine. A favorite of mine, no, but I do like his stuff overall. So yes, that is the conclusion of the G and H tags. So once again, thank you to Jim over at Jim's Books, Reading and Stuff for creating these. Sorry it's taken me so long to get to them, but I'm sure Jim understands. And as usual, I will plan on getting to the other ones in due time. But anyway, thank you, BookTube.